I flew home for Christmas. The house was completely dark. No lights, no warmth, no family. For years, I'd been the family ATM, paying their mortgage, my brother's car, even his rehab bills. I thought this Christmas would finally be different. I was so wrong. On the kitchen counter sat a single note in my mother's handwriting. Used your money for your brother's emergency. You'll understand. Mom, they'd drained my account. $47,000 gone, and they weren't even there to face me. But 3 days later, their panicked call taught me the sweetest lesson about boundaries and karma. If you've ever been the family's financial safety net while your siblings got a free ride, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button, because by the end, you'll see exactly how I took back my power. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. My name is Jennifer Miller, and I'm 35 years old. I work as a financial accountant in Boston, pulling in a decent salary that I worked my ass off to earn. But for the past 10 years, almost none of that money has been mine. Not really. It started when I was 25. Fresh out of college with my accounting degree, I'd just landed my first real job at a firm in Boston. The salary felt like a fortune back then, $55,000 a year. I remember calling my parents from my tiny studio apartment, practically vibrating with excitement. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," my mother had said, her voice warm through the phone. "We always knew you'd be the responsible one." The responsible one. I didn't think much of it at the time. It felt like a compliment. That Thanksgiving, I drove home to our house in suburban Pennsylvania for the first time since starting my job. The moment I walked through the door, I could feel the difference. My parents greeted me with genuine smiles, the kind I hadn't seen in years. The dining table was set beautifully, Mom's good china, candles flickering, the whole Norman Rockwell setup. My older brother Ryan was there too, 30 years old at the time, sprawled on the couch with his phone. He barely looked up when I arrived. "Ryan, say hello to your sister," Mom prompted gently. "Hey," he muttered, eyes still glued to his screen. Dad carved the turkey with theatrical precision, and Mom kept refilling my wine glass. The conversation flowed easily. They asked about my apartment, my commute, my coworkers. For the first time in years, I felt like I mattered to them, like I was more than just another obligation. It wasn't until dessert that Dad cleared his throat in that particular way that meant something serious was coming. "Jennifer, honey," he began, setting down his fork, "your mother and I are so proud of what you've accomplished. You've really made something of yourself." "Thanks, Dad." I beamed, warmth spreading through my chest. He exchanged a glance with Mom. "We've been having some trouble keeping up with the mortgage payments. Just temporary, you understand. The economy's been tough on everyone." Mom reached across the table to squeeze my hand. "We would never normally ask, but you're doing so well now. If you could help out just a little, just until we get back on our feet." I looked at Ryan, still on the couch, still unemployed, still living in his childhood bedroom. Something uncomfortable twisted in my stomach, but I pushed it down. "Of course," I heard myself say. "How much do you need?" Dad's face flooded with relief. $2,000 would help tremendously. $2,000, nearly a month's rent for me. But they were my parents. They'd raised me, fed me, put me through college. This was what family did, right? I wrote them a check before I left that weekend. Mom hugged me tight at the door, whispering, "You're such a good daughter. Not everyone would be so generous." That should have been my first clue. The way she said it, not everyone. She meant Ryan, but she didn't expect anything from Ryan. Only from me. The $2,000 became a monthly thing. Then it was $3,000 because the property taxes went up. Then it was $5,000 because Ryan needed a car to look for jobs. Then it was $8,000 for Ryan's first stint in rehab, a 30-day program that Mom swore would change everything. It didn't. Every time I came home, the pattern was the same. Mom and Dad would greet me warmly, tell me how proud they were, how well I was doing. Ryan would be there in the background, directionless, but somehow never blamed for anything. The house would smell like Mom's pot roast, and for a few hours, I could pretend we were a normal, functional family. But then Dad would sigh over the bills spread across the kitchen table. Or Mom would mention, casually, that Ryan's car insurance had lapsed. Or there'd be another crisis, another emergency, another reason why they needed just a little more help. "You're doing so well," Mom would say, her eyes pleading. "You don't need us anymore." But Ryan's still finding himself. He just needs more time. More time, more money, more chances. By the time I was 30, I'd given them over $100,000. I knew because I finally sat down one night with a calculator and went through 7 years of bank statements. The number made me physically ill. $100,000, no house of my own, no significant savings, no retirement account to speak of. Just a one-bedroom apartment in Boston and a growing sense that something was deeply wrong. But whenever I tried to bring it up, the script was always the same. "When is Ryan going to get a job?" I'd ask, trying to keep my voice neutral. Mom's face would crumple. "Family helps family, Jennifer. Are you saying you don't care about your brother?" Or Dad would look disappointed, his mouth pulling into a thin line. "Not everyone is as fortunate as you, Jennifer. Have some compassion." Compassion. Like I hadn't been showing them compassion for years. Like my entire adult life hadn't been shaped around their needs. The gaslighting was subtle but constant. When I suggested Ryan could work part-time while job searching, Mom acted like I'd suggested he murder someone. When I mentioned I needed to focus on my own savings, Dad gave me the silent treatment for an entire weekend visit. But then, just when I'd start to pull away, they'd reel me back in. Mom would send me a text, "We're so proud of you," usually right after I'd transferred money. Dad would call just to chat, asking about my life, sounding genuinely interested. They'd send me articles they thought I'd find interesting, remember my birthday with thoughtful cards. The love bombs made the cold treatment bearable, made me think that maybe I was overreacting. Maybe this was just what adult families were like. Maybe I was being selfish. By 35, I'd stopped dating seriously. How could I? Every relationship fell apart when I had to explain why I couldn't commit to a vacation, to moving in together, to building a life. Because my family might need me. Because I couldn't predict when the next crisis would hit. My friends tried to help. Sarah, my closest friend from college, had been the most direct. "Jen, they're using you," she'd said over brunch one Sunday. "You know that, right?" "They're my parents," I'd replied, defensive. "They gave me everything. They gave you a childhood. That's literally the bare minimum of parenting. You don't owe them your entire adult life." But I couldn't hear it. Not then. Last October, something shifted. I'd been feeling burnt out, stretched thin. My savings account hadn't grown in 8 years. It just fluctuated between $5,000 and $10,000, rising when I got bonuses, falling when family emergencies struck. I was 35 years old with less savings than I'd had at 27. So I made a decision. No more. I was going to keep my November payment to myself. Just 1 month to prove I could. When the 1st of November came and went without a transfer, my phone started ringing. First, it was Dad. His voice was tight, controlled. "Jennifer, we didn't receive the deposit. Just wanted to make sure everything was all right on your end." "Everything's fine, Dad. I just need to focus on my own finances for a while." Silence. Then, "I see. Well, we'll talk later." He hung up. 2 days later, Mom called. She was crying. "Jennifer, your father is beside himself. The bank sent a foreclosure notice. How can you do this to us, after everything we've done for you?" Guilt crashed over me like a wave. I tried to stand firm. "Mom, I've given you over $100,000. I need to save for my own future." "Your future? What about our future?" "We're old, Jennifer. We can't work like we used to. And Ryan's really trying this time, but he needs support, not judgment from his own sister." I caved. Of course I caved. I sent $3,000 that afternoon with a note. "This is the last time." But we both knew it wasn't true. Mom didn't call me for 2 weeks after that. Radio silence. When she finally answered my calls again, her voice was cold, formal. The message was clear. Fall in line or lose us. Then Ryan posted on Facebook. He didn't tag me, but the post was obviously about me. Some people forget where they came from. Family should stick together. Real disappointed in people who put money over blood. The comments were full of his friends agreeing, talking about loyalty and love. My face burned reading it. He'd never thanked me, not once. Not for the $15,000 I'd paid for his first rehab. Not for the car. Not for the rent I'd covered when he had his rough patch last year. But I was the villain for wanting to save money for myself. My aunt, Dad's sister, called me out of the blue in mid-November. "Jennifer, I'm concerned about you," she said, her tone dripping with judgment. "Your parents are so hurt. They gave you everything, and this is how you repay them?" "I've been sending them money for 10 years, I said, my voice shaking. "Tens of thousands of dollars." "Well, that's what family does, dear. They helped raise you. Now it's your turn to help them." Everyone was against me, or at least that's how it felt. I started having panic attacks, real ones, heart racing, can't breathe, feeling like the walls were closing in. It happened whenever I saw my parents' names on my phone, whenever I opened my banking app, whenever I thought about the future. At my annual physical in early December, my doctor noted my blood pressure was dangerously high. "Are you under a lot of stress?" she asked, concerned. I laughed. It came out bitter. "You could say that." "Jennifer, stress like this can cause serious health problems. Heart disease, stroke. You need to address whatever's causing this." "But how could I? They were my family." Then, in late November, Mom called. Her voice was warm again, sweet, like nothing had happened. "Sweetheart, we miss you. Come home for Christmas. It'll be just like old times. We'll make your favorite cookies, watch Christmas movies. Please? It's been such a difficult year. Let's just be together as a family." My eyes welled up. Maybe they'd changed. Maybe they finally understood. Maybe this Christmas would be different. "Okay, Mom, I'll be there." "Oh, wonderful. Your father will be so happy. We love you so much, Jennifer." "I love you too." I hung up and immediately booked a flight. Boston to Philadelphia, December 23rd. I even went shopping, spending $800 on gifts. A new watch for Dad, the expensive skincare set Mom had been eyeing. For Ryan, I got him a professional resume service package. A hint, maybe, but wrapped with hope. I told myself I was being paranoid. They were my parents. They loved me. Christmas would be perfect. I had no idea I was walking into an ambush. The flight landed at 6 p.m. on December 23rd. I'd been texting Mom throughout the day. "Boarding now." "Just landed." "On my way." But she hadn't responded. That was odd, but I told myself she was probably busy with Christmas preparations. I rented a car at the airport and drove through the darkening evening toward my childhood home. The neighborhoods were beautiful, houses glowing with Christmas lights, wreaths on every door. Light snow was starting to fall. Everything looked like a Hallmark movie. My chest felt lighter than it had in months. Maybe this was what I needed. Maybe being together face to face would heal everything. I turned onto my parents' street at 7:30. The houses here were less decorated but still festive. Except for one, mine. My parents' house was completely dark. No lights on the porch, no Christmas decorations, no glow from inside. Even the porch light was off. My stomach dropped. I pulled into the driveway. Dad's car wasn't there. Neither was Mom's. The garage door was closed, but through the window I could see it was empty. I sat in the rental car, engine still running, staring at the dark house. Snow accumulated on the windshield. Maybe they went to pick up dinner. Maybe they're at the store. But something felt wrong. Horribly wrong. I grabbed my suitcase and the bags of gifts, my hands shaking. I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. No answer. I knocked. Nothing. I still had my key, the one they'd given me when I first moved out, in case of emergencies. I unlocked the door and pushed it open. "Mom? Dad?" My voice echoed in the dark, empty house. The air was cold. The heat was turned down low. I fumbled for the light switch and flipped it on. The living room looked abandoned. No Christmas tree, no decorations, no signs of life. A thin layer of dust covered the coffee table. "Hello?" I walked through the house, turning on lights, my heart pounding. The kitchen, the dining room, the bedrooms, all empty, untouched. On the kitchen counter, next to a stack of unopened mail, was a single piece of paper. My mother's handwriting in blue ink. My hands trembled as I picked it up. Jenny, Ryan had an emergency. Needed $47K for medical bills. plus security deposit for his new apartment in Arizona. Fresh start. Used your savings account. Still have your info from helping us set up online banking years ago. You always said family comes first. You'll understand. We're in Arizona helping him settle. Back next week. Mom and Dad. I read it twice, 3 times. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. $47,000, my savings account, used, without asking. I set down the note carefully, like it might explode. My purse was still on my shoulder. I pulled out my phone with numb fingers and opened my banking app. The screen loaded slowly. Too slowly. Then the numbers appeared. Checking account, $1,247.38. My balance had been $48,500 3 days ago. They'd taken everything I had left. Next to the note was a printed bank statement, my bank statement. They'd printed it out like proof of what they'd done. A transaction dated December 22nd. External transfer, $47,250.62. I looked at the date on the note again. December 22nd. They'd done this the day before I flew home. They'd known I was coming. We'd talked about it. Mom had invited me, and they'd robbed me and left. My phone was in my hand. I called Dad. Straight to voicemail. I called Mom. Voicemail. I called Ryan. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. My breath came in short gasps. I opened Facebook with shaking hands. Ryan's page loaded. His latest post from 6 hours ago showed him grinning in front of a new apartment complex. The caption read, "New beginnings, thanks to family that really care." The post had 43 likes. I scrolled through the comments, his friends congratulating him, someone asking, "Dude, how'd you afford this place?" Ryan's reply, "Family came through, fresh start, new life." My vision blurred. I looked around the empty kitchen, at the dark house, at the Christmas gifts I'd carried in, still sitting by the door. They'd planned this. Stolen my banking information years ago when I'd helped them set up online accounts, waited for the right moment, taken everything, and then run. They hadn't even had the courage to tell me to my face. I walked slowly into the living room and sat down on the couch. The gifts I'd bought stared at me from across the room, wrapped in cheerful paper, tags carefully written out in my handwriting. Something happened then that I didn't expect. I started laughing, not happy laughter, not nervous laughter. Something darker, more unhinged. The sound echoed through the empty house. I laughed until my sides hurt, until tears ran down my face, until I couldn't breathe. All those years, all that money, all that guilt they'd made me feel. And this was how it ended, with a note on the counter and an empty house on Christmas. The laughter died. I sat in the silence, surrounded by darkness. My phone sat on the couch next to me. No calls, no texts. No, "We're sorry." No, "We'll explain." Nothing. For the first time in my entire adult life, the truth hit me with perfect, terrible clarity. I wasn't their daughter. I was their ATM, their retirement plan, their solution to every problem. Ryan wasn't my brother. He was their investment. The golden child who could do no wrong, subsidized by the daughter they'd trained to feel guilty for existing, and I'd let them do it. For 10 years, I'd let them convince me that my worth was measured by my usefulness, that love meant sacrifice, that family meant bleeding yourself dry. I sat in that dark house, my childhood home that had never really been my home, and felt something crack open inside me. Not heartbreak, not sadness, rage. Pure, white-hot, clarifying rage. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I stayed in that cold house, lights off except for my phone screen, not eating, barely drinking water. I just sat there, numb and frozen. On Christmas morning, I watched through the window as neighbors walked to their cars, carrying presents, calling out "Merry Christmas" to each other. Normal families doing normal things. I couldn't move. My phone buzzed with holiday texts from friends. "Merry Christmas! Hope you're having a wonderful day with family. Send pics." I didn't respond to any of them. On Christmas night, I lay on the couch in the darkness and stared at the ceiling. The house was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Maybe I deserved this. Maybe I'd been stupid to trust them. Maybe I'd enabled this by never saying no, never standing up for myself, never demanding they treat me like more than a bank account. Maybe this was my fault. Outside, Mrs. Patterson from next door was shoveling her driveway. I could see her through the window, bundled up in her puffy coat, scraping ice off her car. She waved at someone passing by, smiling, chatting. The world didn't stop. Life went on. People kept living, kept laughing, kept being happy. And I was here, in this dark house, destroyed by the people who were supposed to love me most. But then something shifted. Mrs. Patterson didn't know what had happened. She was just living her life, doing her thing, existing in a world where not everyone was cruel. The world kept spinning. Tomorrow would come whether I was ready or not. And sitting here, drowning in shame and grief, wasn't going to change anything. A thought flickered through my mind, small but insistent. They don't get to destroy me. Not after everything. I sat up slowly. My laptop was in my bag. I pulled it out and opened it. Google search. Parents stole money from bank account legal options. Page after page of results. Articles, forums, legal advice websites. I started reading. 2 hours later, I was on Reddit in a community called RR Raised by Narcissists. Thousands of stories, hundreds of thousands of people like me. My parents drained my college fund. My mom took out credit cards in my name. I paid for everything, and they called me selfish when I stopped. Story after story, pattern after pattern. I wasn't alone. There were terms for what they'd done to me. Financial abuse, parentification, scapegoat versus golden child. Narcissistic family dynamics. It wasn't love. It had never been love. It was exploitation with a bow on top. I read until dawn on December 26th. My eyes burned. My head ached. But something was shifting inside me. The shame was transforming into something else. Something sharper. Something stronger. I wasn't the problem. I had never been the problem. They were. And they'd made a mistake leaving that note. They'd confessed, in writing, to taking my money without permission. I stood up from the couch, joints stiff from sitting too long. I walked to the kitchen and picked up the note again. Read it one more time. Then I took a photo of it with my phone. I photographed the bank statement they'd left behind. I opened my laptop and started screenshotting everything. Ryan's Facebook post, the transaction history, every text message, every voicemail, every email, evidence. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to collapse. I wasn't going to blame myself. I was going to fight back. I called Sarah first, my best friend from college, the one who'd been telling me for years that my family was toxic. Jen. Oh my God, Merry Christmas, how's Pennsylvania? My voice came out flat, mechanical. Sarah, I need your help. I'm ready to fight back. There was a pause. Then her tone shifted, becoming sharp and focused. Tell me everything. I did. Every detail. The empty house, the note, the stolen $47,000, Ryan's Facebook post celebrating his new beginning with my money. Jesus Christ, Sarah breathed. Jen, that's theft. That's actual criminal theft. I know. My hands were surprisingly steady. I need a lawyer. Do you know anyone? My cousin does employment law, but she knows people. Let me make some calls. Don't do anything yet. Just sit tight. But I couldn't sit tight. The rage that had ignited was burning hotter by the hour, fueling me, focusing me. I spent December 26th researching Pennsylvania law, unauthorized access to financial accounts, civil versus criminal charges, statutes of limitations. I took notes in a document building a timeline of every financial transaction, every lie, every manipulation. By evening, Sarah texted me, "Found someone, family law attorney, handles financial abuse cases. Her name is Patricia Chen. She can see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., sending you the address now." I showed up at Patricia Chen's office at 8:45, carrying a folder thick with printed documentation. She was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense handshake. "Sarah filled me in on the basics," she said, gesturing for me to sit. "Walk me through it from the beginning." I laid it all out. She listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "Jennifer, I'm going to be blunt. You have an exceptionally strong case. They confessed in writing. They used your banking credentials without permission. The transaction is documented. This is cut and dry." "What are my options?" "3 routes. 1. Criminal charges for unauthorized access and theft. 2. Civil lawsuit to recover the funds plus damages. 3. Leverage the threat of both to negotiate repayment and permanent separation." My throat tightened. "What do you recommend?" "Depends on your goal. Do you want them punished? Do you want your money back? Do you want them gone from your life?" "All of it," I said immediately. "I want everything." She smiled, thin and sharp. "Then we start with a police report to establish a paper trail, follow with a formal demand letter threatening both criminal prosecution and civil action, and see how they respond. Most people fold when they realize you're serious. And if they don't, then we bury them in court." She slid a contract across the desk. "I'll need a retainer, but given your financial situation, we can work out a payment plan. This is worth pursuing." I signed without hesitation. That afternoon, I walked into the Pennsylvania State Police Station. The officer at the desk looked bored until I explained what happened. "They admitted it in writing?" he asked, suddenly more interested. "Yes." I handed him a copy of the note. He read it, eyebrows rising. "Ma'am, this is pretty straightforward. They literally confessed." "Let me get a detective." 2 hours later, I'd filed a formal police report, case number PA 2024-8847. The detective, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, was sympathetic. "I see this more often than you'd think," she said. "Adult children being financially exploited by their parents. The hard part is usually proof, but you've got that in spades. We'll open an investigation. In the meantime, document everything. Every call, every text, every interaction?" "I will." "And change all your passwords. Lock down your credit. They've had access to your financial information for years. You need to assume they've got everything." The weight of that hit me. Everything. My social security number, my bank account numbers, my credit card information. I spent the rest of December 27th locking down my entire financial life. New bank accounts at a different institution entirely. Credit freeze with all 3 bureaus. Changed passwords on every single account I had. Set up 2-factor authentication everywhere. By evening, I was exhausted but felt like I'd built a wall between them and me. They couldn't touch me anymore. Patricia called that night. "I've drafted the demand letter. I'm sending it certified mail tomorrow morning to the address in Arizona you got from your brother's Facebook. They'll have it by December 30th. 72 hours to respond." "What do you think will happen?" "They'll panic. That's usually what happens when consequences show up." She was right. On December 31st at 3:47 in the afternoon, my old phone, the number I'd kept active just to monitor their attempts to contact me, rang. Dad's name on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. "Jennifer, we got some letter. This is ridiculous. We're family. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Call us back. We need to discuss this like adults." I saved the voicemail and didn't call back. The next call came on New Year's Day. Mom, her voice shrill and panicked. "How could you go to the police? Over money? Your brother needed help and you're trying to put us in jail. You've always been selfish, but this is unforgivable. You're breaking your father's heart. You're tearing this family apart." The irony was almost funny. I was tearing the family apart, not them stealing from me, not them abandoning me on Christmas, me for having the audacity to fight back. I saved that voicemail too. On January 2nd, I sent one text, just one. I drafted it with Patricia's help, made sure every word was deliberate. "I will not be responding to calls, texts, or any contact. All communication goes through my attorney, Patricia Chen, at 215-555-0147. Do not come to my home or workplace. You took $47,000 without asking. That's theft. The police agree. My lawyer agrees. Make this right or face consequences. This is not a discussion. I hit send, then immediately blocked their numbers. Silence. It felt like stepping out of a hurricane into sudden, eerie calm. I flew back to Boston on January 3rd. My apartment had never looked better. Small and cramped, but mine. Safe, clean, free from them. I met with a therapist that same day, a woman named Dr. Rebecca Walsh, who specialized in family trauma. Sarah had recommended her. What you're describing, Dr. Walsh said after I'd told her everything, is a textbook case of narcissistic family dynamics. You were assigned the role of scapegoat and provider. Your brother was the golden child. Your parents are the narcissists who orchestrated the whole system. Hearing it laid out so clinically was almost relieving. It wasn't my imagination. It wasn't me being too sensitive. It was real. It was documented. It had a name. The hardest part for most people, Dr. Walsh continued, is accepting that their parents aren't capable of the love they needed, that the relationship was transactional, not emotional. How do I accept that? My voice cracked. Time, therapy, and by building the life you actually want instead of the one they demanded from you. Over the next few days, I checked my old phone periodically. They'd found other numbers to call from, borrowed phones maybe, or burner phones. The voicemails grew increasingly desperate. Dad, Jennifer, please, we'll figure this out. Just talk to us. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. You're having some kind of breakdown. We forgive you. Just come home. Ryan, surprisingly, Dude, what the hell? You're trying to destroy Mom and Dad over money? That's seriously messed up. None of them apologized. None of them acknowledged what they'd done. It was all about how I was wrong, how I was overreacting, how I was the problem. Patricia called on January 4th. They've been trying to contact my office, leaving messages, asking for extensions, but the deadline is tomorrow. If they don't submit a proposal by end of business, we file the civil suit on January 6th. Good, I said. Jennifer, I have to ask. Are you sure you want to go through with this? This will be ugly. They'll fight back. They'll try to make you look like the bad guy. They already think I'm the bad guy. At least this way I get my money back. Fair enough. At 11:58 p.m. on January 5th, 2 minutes before the deadline, Patricia's office received an email. She called me the next morning, her voice tight with anger on my behalf. They sent a proposal. $500 a month for 94 months. No interest, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, no apology. I did the math. That was almost 8 years. They're treating me like a bank they robbed and now want a payment plan. Essentially, yes. What do you want to do? Reject it. File the lawsuit. I'm done playing games. On January 6th, we filed. Civil suit seeking full restitution of $47,000 plus damages, legal fees, and interest. I also authorized the police to pursue criminal charges for unauthorized account access. The news hit the extended family like a bomb. My aunt, Dad's sister, the one who'd lectured me about family loyalty, called Patricia's office wanting to speak to me. Patricia politely told her all communication had to go through legal channels. Then, on January 8th, something unexpected happened. My aunt posted on Facebook, a long public post. I need to address something that's come to my attention. I've learned that my brother and sister-in-law took $47,000 from their daughter Jennifer's bank account without her permission and left her alone on Christmas with just a note. I was told Jennifer was being difficult and selfish. I was lied to. What they did was theft. Jennifer, if you see this, I'm so sorry. You deserved better from all of us. The post had over 200 comments within an hour, extended family members asking questions, friends expressing shock, some people defending my parents. There must be more to the story, but others coming to my defense. Within 24 hours, my parents deleted their Facebook accounts entirely. I heard through my aunt, who'd started texting me directly, apologizing profusely, that my parents were melting down. The public exposure, the legal consequences, the police investigation, it was all too much. Your mother is beside herself, my aunt told me over the phone. She keeps saying you've destroyed the family. She destroyed the family when she stole from me. I know. For what it's worth, half the family had no idea what was really happening. Your mother controlled the narrative for years. She made it sound like you were being bratty and ungrateful. And now? Now people are asking questions. Real questions. About Ryan, about the money, about why you were supporting them for a decade. The cracks were spreading. Without me as the scapegoat, without my money as the glue, the whole system was falling apart. On January 15th, Patricia received a call from a lawyer representing my parents. They want to settle, she told me. $30,000 over 3 years. Plus they'll agree to a no-contact clause. Not enough. $47,000. Full repayment over 5 years, legally binding contract. And if they miss a single payment, I can pursue criminal charges. Plus, they sign a statement admitting what they did. That's harsh. So was leaving me alone on Christmas after robbing me. Patricia went back with my counteroffer. On January 20th, they agreed. The contract arrived via email. Pages of legal language, but the essentials were there. $783.30 per month for 60 months. Total repayment of $47,000. Admission of wrongdoing in writing. No contact clause with penalties if violated. They'd signed it. I stared at the digital signatures. Mom's careful cursive. Dad's scrawled initials. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I just felt empty. This is good, Patricia said when I called her. You won. They have to pay you back, and you never have to see them again. Won. Is that what this was? I signed the contract and sent it back. A week later, the first payment hit my new bank account. $783.33. I transferred it immediately into a new savings account I'd opened, labeled Future Jennifer Fund. That same day, a letter arrived at Patricia's office, forwarded to me. From Ryan. The handwriting was messy, unpracticed, like he hadn't written a physical letter in years. Jennifer, I didn't know they took the money without asking. I swear. I thought you'd agreed to it. Mom told me you wanted to help. I'm realizing now that I've been part of something really messed up. I've been the favorite kid who never had to do anything while you did everything. That wasn't fair. That was wrong. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I deserve forgiveness. But I'm going to rehab. Real rehab this time, a 6-month program that I'm paying for myself. I got a job at a warehouse. It's not much, but it's honest work and I'm paying my own bills now. I'm sorry, for all of it. For being the reason they used you, for never standing up for you, for taking and never saying thank you. I hope someday you can be happy. You deserve that. Ryan. I read it 3 times. Part of me wanted to crumple it up, throw it away. Words were easy. Actions were what mattered, but another part of me, a small part, appreciated that he'd at least tried. I put the letter in a drawer and didn't respond. Time would tell if he meant it. February came. Then March. The payments kept arriving, like clockwork. $783.33 every month. I started therapy twice a week. Dr. Walsh helped me unpack 10 years of conditioning, guilt, and manipulation. You were parentified as a child, she explained, made to feel responsible for your parents' emotional and financial well-being. That's not normal. That's abuse. But they fed me, clothed me, put me through school. That's the bare minimum of parenting. You don't owe them your entire adult life for doing the basic requirements of being a parent. It took months to internalize that, to really believe it. In April, I turned 36. For the first time in 11 years, I spent my birthday money on myself. I booked a trip to Iceland, something I'd always wanted to do but never could afford. Sarah threw me an emancipation party the weekend before I left. Half the friend group showed up, bringing champagne and ridiculous gifts, a book called Boundaries for Dummies, a mug that said, "Not your ATM," a framed photo of me giving the camera the middle finger. "You did it," Sarah said, hugging me tight. "You actually did it. You got free." I cried then. Good tears, finally. One of my friends, Emma, pulled me aside later in the evening. "Your story gave me courage," she said quietly. "My family's been doing something similar. Not as extreme, but seeing you stand up to them made me realize I can too." That hit harder than I expected. My pain had purpose. My story mattered. In June, I wrote an essay about what happened. I published it on Medium under a pseudonym. The $47,000 Christmas Note: How I Learned Family Love Shouldn't Cost Everything. I didn't expect much, maybe a few dozen views from friends. It went viral. 847,000 views in 2 weeks. The comments section flooded with stories. Thousands of people sharing their own experiences with financial abuse, with being the family scapegoat, with breaking free. I thought I was alone. This is exactly what my parents did to me. Thank you for putting words to what I couldn't explain. I cried reading them. Not sad tears, overwhelmed tears, connected tears. I wasn't alone. None of us were. I started volunteering with a financial literacy nonprofit in Boston, teaching young adults about boundaries, warning signs of financial abuse, and how to protect their assets. My parents still have access to the bank account they opened for me when I was 16, one girl told me during a workshop. Should I change that? Yes, I said firmly. Today. Right now. I'll help you. Helping others helped me heal. By August, my savings account, the Future Jennifer Fund, had grown to over $12,000. Between my regular deposits and the monthly payments from my parents, I was finally building something. The Iceland trip had been magical. The northern lights, the waterfalls, the overwhelming beauty of a landscape that existed completely separate from my family drama. The world was so much bigger than them. I'd also started dating someone. His name was Marcus, a software engineer I'd met through a friend. We were taking it slow, but for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid to let someone in. So your family situation, Marcus said carefully over dinner one night. Are you okay with talking about it? I'm in therapy for it. It's complicated, but I'm working through it. He nodded. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. And he wasn't. He didn't run when I explained the extent of the dysfunction. He didn't tell me I should forgive them or try to reconcile. He just listened, supported, and gave me space to heal at my own pace. In September, I received a text from an unknown number. Jennifer, this is your mother. I got a new phone. I know we're not supposed to contact you, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. I miss you. Can we talk? My finger hovered over the reply button. Dr. Walsh's voice echoed in my head. If you don't want to respond, you don't have to. You don't owe them anything, not even closure. I deleted the message and blocked the number. 3 days later, Patricia called. Your mother contacted my office. She's asking if you'd be willing to meet. No. I'll let her know. That was it. Boundary set, boundary held. It felt powerful. October brought another milestone. I was approved for a mortgage, a real mortgage for a small condo in Boston. I closed on it in November. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 700 square feet of space that was entirely mine. The day I got the keys, I stood in the empty living room and cried. Happy tears this time, proud tears. I hung a framed photo from Iceland on the wall. The northern lights, green and ethereal against the dark sky. A reminder that beauty existed outside of pain. December arrived, the anniversary of everything. I braced myself for it to be hard, but it wasn't. I spent Christmas with chosen family, Sarah, Marcus, Emma, and a handful of other close friends. We cooked dinner together, exchanged thoughtful gifts, and laughed until our sides hurt. No one drained my bank account. No one left me alone in a dark house. No one made me feel small. I checked my Future Jennifer Fund on December 23rd, 127,443. A year ago, I'd had nothing. Now I had a home, savings, healthy relationships, and peace. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. A text. Can we talk? Miss you. Mom. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I deleted it and blocked the number. I didn't need closure from them. I had closure within myself. That night, sitting in my own condo, surrounded by people who actually loved me, I realized something profound. The best revenge wasn't making them suffer. It was building a life so fulfilling, so joyful, so authentically mine that I forgot they were even there to punish. I was free, not because they'd changed, not because they'd apologized, not because they'd learned their lesson. I was free because I chose myself. And that was the sweetest victory of all. If you've ever been the family's ATM, the scapegoat, the one who gave everything and got nothing back, please share this story. Your comment might be the sign someone else needs to finally set boundaries. Remember, family is supposed to be your safe place, not your sacrifice. You're allowed to choose yourself. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to be free. You are not alone. And you are not selfish for protecting yourself. What boundary do you need to set today?